At the Office, Cleveland's home for sports talk that never clocks out. From the latest headlines to heated debates, we're diving into everything sports. It's your hosts, Noah and Matt.
Cleveland! Welcome into The Office, the show where we talk all things sports, Cleveland sports specifically. I'm your host, Noah, joined by my co-host, Matt. You can join us at The Office too. Comment on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, you name it, we're on it. You can text or call the show, but for this episode, since this is actually pre-recorded, Matt, at this current time when this is going live, is going to be in New Mexico. So shoot us a text at the show, 216-260-3433, 216-260-3433. Matt, buddy, how are you doing?
I am wonderful. It is a beautiful day here in, Northeast Ohio. There's a fire going. I'm excited.
There's a fire going where? In your backyard, at the school next door? Like what? You got to be a little more descriptive than
Just
that.
like right next to me here on the floor. No, it's outside the fire pit. It's waiting on me.
Right.
I'm excited to go sit by it once the show's done. But more importantly, I'm excited to talk what we got going on today.
Yeah, and of course, it is NFL Draft Week, so we have our final mock draft here on the channel at The Office, with trades included as well. So we got the whole gambit of everything that could happen and what we're trying to predict or want to see happen, as you'll see as our mock drafts unfold. But first, Matt, you were talking about going to sit by the fire. You know what's great to drink next to the fire? That's D&D Mead. D&D Meadery, two twin brothers, Derek and Dominic from Northeast Ohio, bringing back the ancient craft of making mead. This stuff is fantastic. Matt has bought multiple bottles of multiple flavors. Matt, talk about the flavors that you picked up.
My personal favorite of the flavors I got is the maple syrup mead. I think I've hit it on 2 or 3 shows now, but it's just so good. I have to keep talking about it. If you're placing an order, you get a shot glass if you get 2. That should be your second bottle.
And of course, to get that said shot glass, you have to use code @the-office CLE for 5% off. Buy 2 bottles, get that shot glass for free. And don't discredit the OG straight up honey wine mead, as they call it, because this stuff is fantastic. It is tasty. It is sweet. It is everything that you are looking for in your adult beverage. 21 years or older, please drink responsibly. Matt, that was fun. Let's get into the real stuff now. It is draft week here on the NFL, for the NFL. And of course, real quick, I got to plug Thursday and potentially Friday, depending on what the Cleveland Browns do. We will be live all together, me, John, and Eric, potentially just me and Eric for one of the shows, talking NFL draft, live reacting to everything that we have going on. We cannot wait for the show for you guys to tune in, yip it up with us a little bit, talk about what you think about what the Browns did, and keep it pushing from there. But Matt, it's mock draft time. So I am going to go first if you're okay with that.
Absolutely.
Is there anything you're thinking about the NFL draft that I should shout out before we get started?
I do expect, and I think we both kind of have this in different ways, but I do expect it to be kind of a wild draft for Cleveland fans. I think there's going to be some surprise moves for sure.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this draft. I feel like most of Cleveland, if you are a Cleveland fan from Cleveland, are ecstatic, excited, ready to see what happens, ready to see what the next step of what this franchise is going to become, moving away from the Deshaun Watson era with the re-signing of Myles Garrett, blase, blase, blah. But that's enough yapping. Let's get into it. With the second pick of the 2025 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Travis Hunter, Unicorn, Colorado. Yes, I put Unicorn on the damn board because Travis Hunter is going to do a little bit of everything and then some here with the team. Andrew Berry has said multiple times that he thinks Travis Hunter is a wide receiver. I think they are going to use him both ways if they do and when they do select him. Travis Hunter is, in my opinion, the best player in this draft. And to add a star talent like that to a Cleveland Browns team that desperately needs continued bright spots like the Joe Flacco addition, like Miles re-signing. Let's just keep the positive momentum going. Travis Hunter, to me, is the easiest and the most no-brainer pick here at pick number 2. Matt, what do you got?
I mean, I've been a hater of his for, the longest time here. I've been over it before. I think he's going to be mediocre on either side of the ball, whichever side he plays on in the league. I hope I'm wrong, because it would be very exciting to watch him light up the league, regardless if he comes to Cleveland or not. I'm personally just not a fan. Hoping he proves me wrong, though.
Why do you think he is not going to pan out in the NFL?
I mean, he put up very good numbers in college on both sides of the ball, absolutely. If you go back and look at some of it, like, I think 3 of the 6 games where he caught both an interception and a touchdown, like 3 of the picks were like tipped, deflected, like, and not taken away from it. He still made the interception. That's,
I was going to say, are we arguing against tip drill interceptions now?
No, I'm not. Like, that's not necessarily, him making a super athletic play to break up a ball and catch. Like, I'm not trying to discredit what he did. Just to me, the way he plays and some of the stats and numbers he put up are kind of overblown and people buy into that. I don't see his game translating as well as everybody thinks it will to the NFL.
I see a Heisman winning wide receiver that will translate, a Heisman winning unicorn. I shouldn't say wide receiver. I view him as a wide receiver because that's what the Browns say. 96 receptions, 1,258 yards, 15 touchdowns, 13.1 yards per catch, 32 tackles, 4 interceptions, 11 pass breakups, 1 forced fumble. I mean, this guy really did it all in a Power 4 conference school, and to think poorly of him, to me, is just a naive take for no reason. But we'll continue on. I want to hear what you got going on, so go ahead and give me your pick.
With the second pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns make a trade with the Las Vegas Raiders. They trade down to pick 6. They get 37-104 for pick number 2 and a 26th third-round pick.
Okay. So who do they pick? You got to do the whole thing again. You got to go with the 6th overall pick.
I was getting there. So, with that being said, picked 6th overall by the Cleveland Browns, you have Ashton Jeanty, running back, Boise State.
You got to go with the chime, man. What the hell are you doing?
I didn't expect the second chime.
I said I was doing the second chime. Go ahead. Ashton Jeanty, pick number 6. But do explain to me, after you just shit on my pick, I'm about to rail you on this one.
So this is a very deep running back class. I am very aware of that. There are multiple running backs you could get in the 3rd round that could be elite. This is the most surefire prospect in this draft to me. He's a lock to be very good in the NFL and can definitely be great, amazing. We need a running back to, start to fill the Nick Chubb gap that's going to be left, regardless if he comes back or not. If he does come back, that's awesome because I think Jeanty could learn quite a bit from Nick Chubb. I think the big thing for me here, especially with the Joe Flacco signing, is that opens us up to look at this draft top to bottom, best available. And I think making the trade back, getting more capital in some of the later rounds of a rather deep draft in some positions, and then still being able to get a super talented running back like this would be a phenomenal outcome.
Yeah, so I think Jeanty's great. I hate the idea of trading down. We were a horrible team last year. You have the 2nd overall pick for a reason. You have the ability to grab a cream of the crop player like Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter at a more pristine position than running back in a running back draft class that is deep, as you've said. Ashton Jeanty has also not taken a top 30 visit with the Cleveland Browns. I know that is not a be-all, end-all deciding factor for a player to be selected. We've seen the Browns in dysfunction pick players that they didn't take top 30 visits with before, but it happens all the time, right? I just don't see any tea leaves that make me think this is going to happen. And I wanted to err on the side of realism with my draft. And I'm not calling your draft unrealistic because they could trade back and say, well, we know Genty's going to be a good running back. We don't need a visit with him. It's totally fine. But to trade back after a 3-13 year and take a position that is so deep in this draft class, so you can grab a bell cow running back potentially in the 3rd or 4th round. I get it. Genty's sexy. It's a good, like everybody thinks he's going to be the next thing since sliced bread or whatever in this coming out of this draft. I'm just okay on it. I'm okay. I would rather go take one of the premier players, Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. Obviously, in my mock draft, I had Travis Hunter.
Oh, I mean, I get that. And I do kind of understand that coming in, that this is a rather unrealistic, unlikely. I wouldn't say unrealistic. I would just say it's unlikely due to the nature of the NFL. But it was actually something the simulator proposed to me. And I mean, I've been a proponent of trading back since we started talking the draft. I still think that would be best case scenario, but I don't think it's likely. Given the opportunity, I jumped on it though.
Yeah, especially to only take a 3rd round pick and some picks this year. I would laugh at the Raiders, hang up that phone, and go pick Travis Hunter. But speaking of trade, I'm not going to give myself the tease. I'm going to talk about my trade, which is with the Atlanta Falcons, a team that needs draft capital in this year's draft. They were one of the teams with the fewest picks in this draft. It's funny that they become our partner here after all the back and forth with Kirk Cousins and that ultimately not panning out because obviously Joe Flacco is here to fill that veteran quarterback role. The Falcons receive pick 33, pick 94, pick 104, a future 3rd, and we get pick 15. And if you think that's late, I'd be okay with throwing in Greg Newsome or something like that too, and a couple of 6 because we have like 4 of them this year. And the Cleveland Browns, with the 15th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, select. Are we even surprised that this is my selection? I think Shedeur Sanders is the perfect fit for this Cleveland Browns roster. He has the skill set that fits well with Kevin Stefanski. I am totally fine with them trading assets to move up and grab a guy that they want to develop into being their guy at quarterback. I think Shedeur checks all the boxes of being a leader, having the personality, being able to face pressure and adversity with not even batting an eye. I just think Shedeur Sanders is the best fit at quarterback for this team. I don't know if this is the route they're taking anymore. A lot of the tea leaves, as we talked about last week on the Wednesday show, points to Jalen Milroe. So insert Jalen Milroe here, or maybe a little bit later on, and say the mid-20s of the draft, if you want to pick apart my draft. But if I'm Andrew Berry, I'm going for Shedeur Sanders. And yes, I'd put him in a Browns uniform out of all the other prospects because I have rode the Sanders train to death at this point. What do you think of my pick, Matt?
I think, and given the last week or so, Shedeur has kind of tanked down everybody's draft board across the NFL. He went from, kind of being a lock to be number 2 to falling to somewhere in pick 15 within the span of, a week and a half at most, 2 weeks. If this many people are going that hard out on the guy that quickly, I like to think I know ball decently. The guys that get paid millions of dollars to know ball know it a lot better than I do. Something's up there. He's not the quarterback we think he is. That is really concerning to me, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know how much I buy into that. I think slides happen all the time. Aaron Rodgers slid down draft boards, and he's one of the top quarterbacks of all time, potentially, wherever you want to put him. He's a fantastic quarterback. I don't know where he's in your top 25, top 50, top 10, whatever. He slid down draft boards. So that to me isn't really a negative sign. I mean, considering that at one point he was considered 1 or 2, going to be the 1st or 2nd overall pick. And that has all changed in the time between the last time he played football and now, because he hasn't played any more football since, he's slid and moved around boards. I think some people really like his personality. Other people don't because they worry about the Dion thing and all of that, which are non-factors and non-concerns in my eyes. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. I don't want to see him in Pittsburgh because I have faith in this guy to do good things in the NFL, and he did take a top 30 visit with Pittsburgh. I will note every prospect on my side of the list did take a top 30 visit with the Cleveland Browns. Again, not the be-all, end-all of a prospect going to a team, but it's a good way to start reading the signs. You know what I mean, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is important, but I don't think it necessarily rules out a player either from being drafted.
100%. Listen, real quick, we're going to take it to an ad break. When we come back, we're going to do the second and third rounds of our mock draft. A little less crazy than our first round. And then we'll take the show home. You're listening to At the Office, a Cleveland sports show, and we will be back after these commercial messages. If I could find the button. After these commercial messages, we'll be right back. And we're back at the office talking all things sports, talking NFL draft here on NFL Draft Week. You can join us at the office. Go ahead, shoot us a message, shoot us a DM, leave us a comment at the office CLE. That is our social media handle. You're on YouTube, look up At the Office, a Cleveland Sports Show, and check out the merch. We have a website for merchandise. You can get a beautiful mug like this. You can get some t-shirts, which you've seen us wear a couple times, whether it be on our live show, whether it be, wherever. Sometimes just sitting here. Go check out the merch store at theofficecle.com. And of course, shout out Fans First Sports Network for everything they do in supporting us here. Matt, I've had a mouthful. Jesus. You have pick 33 on the board in your scenario, so go ahead and do it right this time so I can play the damn chime.
With pick 33 in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Walter Nolan, defensive tackle, Ole Miss. He's a strong physical D tackle. We need D-line help. We missed out on Abdul Carter, my favorite guy in this draft, by my own doing, I'll admit. He's not necessarily an edge rusher. We do need help at D tackle as well. Mike Hall is 50-50 in my eyes still. I like him a lot. I hope he works out, but I'm not super confident. In my opinion, this is a guy that, should be a top 20 pick, but just because people are looking other ways, looking for other positions, and there's a lot of D-line in this draft in the first round, I think he'll slide to, somewhere around here, and he could be a very big steal for us.
Yeah, I don't mind the pick at all. I think defensive tackle and adding to that line is a totally fine thought process to have. This is one of the picks I don't mind. Don't know if he was on a top 30 visit with us, which I'm not trying to beat a dead horse there, but giving as much information as possible. But Walter Nolan, yeah, he's a good prospect through and through. I have no complaints with this one. Matt, you're on the board again because of my trade down, because I don't have pick 33. I gave it to the Falcons to get my boy Shedeur. So go ahead and get me going. You have pick 37 is next.
So from the trade with the Raiders, the Browns end up with pick 37 of the 2025 NFL Draft, and they select Josh Conerly Jr., offensive tackle out of Oregon.
So real quick, you lost me on your first round because I don't think Genty is a pick that is worth the Browns' while. It feels like a luxury. Like I said, Josh Conerly Jr. is one of my favorite tackle prospects in this draft. I don't know where they're going to end up after signing Jenkins and, Big Thanos, DeJuan Jones is here. Jack Conklin is here for at least another year if they're going to end up taking a tackle this early. But if they do, I am all the way on the Josh Conerly board, so I'm happy with your pick. Not to hijack, give me your reasoning.
This is kind of a guy that the best way to describe this pick to me is when I was sitting here doing the mock draft, I was looking at some different options, went to look up, 30 seconds of film, just the best of the best highlight tape I could find on the guy to see kind of what I'm thinking. And I went, wow, this is pretty impressive. For me to do that about an O-lineman says a lot because I don't watch O-linemen play. That's not my, area of expertise. And I was pretty impressed with the way this guy was playing. I read a little bit into his scouting report. Some people seem to think he could slide across the line need be. We'll see how that shakes out. Again, to me, this was kind of a best available pick. I think we need some O-line help. We're definitely going to need it in the next few years, if not. So it was just one of those ones that he's there. He looks really, really solid. Why not let him learn from some of these older vets we have that are going to be aging out here shortly?
Yeah, I'm going to jump in real quick too, just because I've actually mocked Conerly before in many of our mock drafts and some of my writings over at fansforsportsnetwork.com. By the way, make sure you go check that out. But Josh Conerly, to me, there's still, of course, the question mark of if he's going to full-blown play tackle, if he's going to end up being a guard, center, whatever in this league. But the talent's there for him to be a starter in the NFL. So in the thought process of going best player available, not really worrying about what's going on because you never know where Joel's going to go. You might get rid of Wyatt Teller after this year if they don't trade him in some sort of wacky trade like mine in the first round. I don't mind this pick at all. I'm happy with it. And I'm going to move on to my pick because I actually applaud you for your last two. It's about to go back downhill for those who are curious. But let's see, where am I at? I have pick 67. With the 67th pick and the final pick of my 2025 Cleveland Browns mock draft, the Cleveland Browns select a running back I have mocked multiple times here. And yes, this is my homer pick, and I'm allowed to have it. Quinshon Judkins, running back, Ohio State. He has all the tools to succeed and be a bell cow back in the NFL. He has taken a top 30 visit with the Cleveland Browns. Him and Cam Skattebo at the time of recording are the only two that have. So if you're high on Skattebo, maybe slot him in here or maybe slot him in at the 94th pick, and we have to give up 67 to the Falcons in my trade. Just giving you some different options of where I was thinking and where I was at. But if I were to do it and I were able to keep pick 67, it's Judkins all day for me. He was a fantastic back at Ohio State. He was a fantastic back at Ole Miss. I think he has all the tools to succeed at the next level. And a 1-2 punch with him, if they do end up bringing Chubb back as well, excites me just as much because he can come in, learn into his role, kind of like he did with, he didn't learn in his role with Travion, but he succeeded in his role with Travion at Ohio State and then can take over those number one running back reps slowly but surely as his career continues to progress. I know you're not going to have any gripes with this pick, so go ahead and tell me how great my mock draft was.
I mean, not at all. Your last pick was a phenomenal pick, probably the best pick of your draft. I actually did a mock draft before the one that I sent to you for the show that didn't have my crazy trade in it, and I ended up taking Judkins. I think he's going to hit in the league. I think he's part of that deep class I mentioned when I picked Janty at 6. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I think he's going to be fantastic, and maybe that's a little bit of the homer and the rose-tinted glasses, shall I say, because he was a part of the national championship Buckeyes, but overall, I think the third round, this area is the best bet for the Browns to get a guy that they're very, very high on. And that's why I think you see guys like Quinshon Judkins and Cam Skattebo on their top 30 visits, because you're talking about the cream of the crop in this area of the NFL draft, being those two names. You ready for your next pick, man? Your next two?
Absolutely.
I'll just sit here and react and tell you you're wrong.
I can't wait for it. So, in my scenario, I also end up with pick 67. So, with pick 67 in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select national champion Will Howard, quarterback, Ohio State. Noah's allowed a homer pick, so am I. This is definitely a little bit more of a homer pick. I think this is the guy that you can bring in to learn from a guy like Joe Flacco. I think, game is similar enough. We've seen Joe Flacco be elite for our offense at times. He can definitely be the mentor we need. This is definitely a reach. I can't even defend that point. I'm taking that one from Noah against myself before he even gets it out. But this is a very shallow quarterback class. And even with the Joe Flacco signing, I still want to see them come out with a quarterback. I think we could survive waiting till next year, but I don't think anybody wants to see that. And I mean, like I said, this is my homer pick. I do think he is going to be good in the league, given some time. Granted, Cleveland doesn't have a great history of developing quarterbacks from, the starting point he's coming from. But we don't have to talk about that. We can talk about how he just won a national title.
Yeah, so I hate this pick because it is the most homer pick that I've seen on the internet. It is the most homer pick that you can give. I've even mocked Will Howard to the Cleveland Browns, and I've backed off of it. He has not been on a top 30 visit, which, yes, I know. I'm going to beat a dead horse again. Say it doesn't matter. Blase, blase, blah. But they have taken 5 different quarterbacks on top 30 visits. Tyler So, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe. That tells you everything and then some, where you need to be and where their thought process is in terms of where they're drafting a quarterback. It isn't in the 3rd round or the later 4th round, mid 4th round, like Will Howard could end up and probably will end up after that abysmal NFL combine. I don't hate Will Howard. I would still probably be excited as a fan if they got Will Howard because he's a Buckeye and because of what we saw in the national championship title run. It's not happening, and we need to come to terms with it as Browns fans when he ends up on some random team, and it could even be Pittsburgh for all we know, because I don't, it's not happening, and my thought process of this guy panning out in the NFL is, it's a dream as a Buckeye fan. I'll leave it at that. That's just where I'm at, man.
I see where you're coming from. I do disagree. I think if he ends up let me start by saying I can't defend it's a homer pick at all. I know I said that. It 100% is. I think given the right scenario, he can definitely develop into a solid starting quarterback, solid to elite even. Do I think Cleveland is that space? I'm going to refuse to answer that and say let's move on to the next pick.
Of course you are. Of course you are. So, Matt's wacky, go lucky Cleveland Browns NFL draft ends on pick 94, a pick I also traded away. Matt, give me the rundown.
With pick 94 in the 2025 NFL draft, the Cleveland Browns select national champion Lathan Ransom, safety, Ohio State University. I almost called this guy a hybrid safety linebacker. This is another homer pick to a little bit. I know Noah disagrees with that little bit, sidebar. I think he can be a very solid run support guy. He's shown he can play coverage well enough. It is a little shaky. But again, this was coming from a spot of best available. I don't think he can hurt anything coming in. And honestly, I know 3rd round's a little early to start calling it this, but you're getting into the range of, you're just throwing the ball up there and hoping it comes down close to the hoop, You're not guaranteed starters this, 94 picks into the draft. I think he has the potential to be a hit. I would like to see him in the brown and orange very much.
Yeah, Ransom's just okay for me. I don't hate it as a pick. We have a safety need technically in Cleveland. Just with Juan Thornhill leaving. Not that Juan Thornhill was doing much when he was here, but you know what I mean. So I don't hate the pick. I just think it bothers me because right after going with Will Howard, you go right back to a Buckeye, and I love Ohio State. I am an Ohio State fan. I have been on this show talking about being an Ohio State fan multiple times. But there are other good college football players out there other than people from Ohio State. And I don't know. Lathan Ransom's fine with me here, though. I don't hate the pick. I'm not in love with it, but I see your thought process. So I'm not going to be upset with it like I was with Will Howard.
Yeah, I mean, I won't, lie. There definitely was a part of me that saw OSU next to the name and was like, hey, that's a good pick without much more research. However, I did do the research and I do still believe he would be a solid pick here, especially as you mentioned. We need safety help. We haven't had good safety play in years.
Yeah, that's totally fair. That's totally fair. We will see what happens this week at the NFL draft this Thursday at 8 p.m. Make sure you tune in to our live draft show, our live draft coverage, where me, John, Eric will be sitting down, breaking down everything that we got going on, what the Browns are doing, if the Browns trade up, if the Browns trade back, like Matt suggests. Let us know in the comments who had the better mock draft. I'm going to pat myself on the back here, but I'm a completely biased party. So let me know which mock draft you liked more. Matt, you got anything else you want to say to the people before I take this thing home?
I want to say that there is an Angel Martinez All-Star season inbound. I know that's completely unrelated to what we're talking about, but it's happening.
Same thing with one Gabby Reyes. Yes, 100%. He's hitting bombs right now at the time of recording. You gotta have faith. If you gotta have faith in Martinez, you gotta have faith in Reyes, and you gotta have faith in Rocchio, and you gotta have faith in my boy Bo too. We're not going down this rabbit hole.
I have been hating on Arias, and he has been playing phenomenal. I am not changing a goddamn thing about how I watch this team until they start sucking.
Yeah, this is also the guy. I know this is a football-based video, so we apologize for our baseball nerding out here at the end. This is the guy who rode with Miles Straw until the end. So, and we saw where that got him. So
bring him back. I'm ready.
All right. Yes, and because he's had a couple good games with the Blue Jays. You have listened to At the Office, a Cleveland Sports Show. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to drop a comment. Let us know which draft you think was better. Check us out on all socials at The Office CLE. That's at The Office CLE. Check out our merch store at The Office. That's without the @ sign this time. CLE.com. Shout out Fans for Sports Network for everything they do over here for us. Make sure you hit the download button as well if you're listening to the audio only version of the show, and subscribe to us on YouTube either way because it helps us grow the brand here a ton. Matt, it's been a pleasure. Happy draft week. And until Thursday, where you get to see me, John, and Eric sit next to each other shoulder to shoulder, have a great day, Cleveland. Have a great night, Cleveland. Stay up, stay blessed. And until next time, peace.